Okay. You see anything? Hey, welcome everyone to Mountain Outpost Pod number 9. We got the numbering right this week. Super stoked for that. I'm your co-host, Jam Jamil Curry, and I'm here tonight with
your boy Skizzle Fresh, Skylar Hall. Glad to be with you, and Jamil's glad to be with you too, man. How are you doing?
So good. I've been loving these weekly check-ins. All right, I see someone in the chat room already. Jacqueline Avery, welcome. Already keeping us on target, says good evening. We're 1 hour later than normal, so some of you might, if you didn't see, I guess, Skylar's Instagram story, which is the only place to find out if this thing is happening or how to submit your questions. Definitely follow Skylar on Instagram. We're also going to be soliciting some feedback on our Mountain Outpost Instagram page because I've been making some stuff over there. I don't know if everyone else thinks it's funny, but I get a laugh out of it. We can talk about that. We're going to get into some things. If this is your first time joining the pod, this is just a couple friends catching up about what's going on in running, hot takes, cold takes, everything in between. And if you have chats in our chat room, if you have any questions for us, drop them in the chat room. This is a live show every week, Tuesday night. And we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. So if you're on either of those platforms right now, you can submit them. We are monitoring those. If not, you can also catch this as an audio-only podcast. I am now updating those every week. I did a crazy dump of episodes after the show last week. Figured out how to convert my files properly. Kudos, nice. Pat on the back. And we're going to get that out every week. So if you are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I believe it's also on Google Podcasts, you can find it. It's under the Steep Life Media channel. You can also just search Mountain Outpost Podcast. It'll pop up for you. Check it out. Subscribe to it. Review it.
Tell a friend.
And yeah, welcome. Skylar, you're coming to us from a little bit of, did you redecorate? Where are you coming to us from?
Definitely did not redecorate, mostly because, I don't have Oval Office sensibilities for these blinds. So, no, I'm in San Diego at the moment. I had a bit of a quick trip that I had to take down here, but, that doesn't mean that we can't give the people what they want. So we had to push it an hour so I could land safely and everything occurred. And now we're still coming to you guys. So apparently I'm missing snow in the Bay Area. Apparently that was about to occur right as I left. So I'm not mad about the timing of this trip. But, as always, kept things safe, double mask, tested before I got out. So things are good. Things are good, man. Yeah. And you're coming to us from the same place as always.
Steep Life Media Studios here in Phoenix, Arizona. Got the helipad right over my head here, the infamous helipad. We're going to have to bust that out pretty soon here. Yeah, we had, there's lots to talk about this week. Skylar sent me, doing the, the typical flight brainstorm. I love that. No cell phone service. So you're like, well, I'm going to just write all my ideas out. So we had a lot to talk about. Some big things happened this weekend. I'm back on the training train, which is exciting. I'm going to try and keep myself healthy. And I booked a training trip to Frozen Head State Park.
Oh, snap.
And I'm going to have, ready for it, 5 full days at the park. Going to be getting basically probably 8 hours of running in. Wow, 8 times 5. That's 40 hours. It's
a legit work week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be going to work. It's Barkley Boot Camp 2021. We're doing it, and it's going to be a good time. So where should we start? You said you're picking up some beer. We always talk about what we're drinking.
That's fair.
Yeah, what do you got?
I have Thorn Brewing Company from here in San Diego. It's literally the one stop I made between the airport and this podcast. And I'm going with it seemed apt for a running related podcast, the Relay IPA. 7.2% and all the fun. What do you got?
Nice. I'm actually dipping back into the Athletic Brewing Company. This is the Run Wild non-alcoholic IPA. So, yeah. It's going to be a wild one, folks.
Woo! All right, sir. I actually thought of you. I was adding some beers on Untapped over the weekend, and I got a like push notification coupon or something from Athletic. And I was about to send it to you so I could be like, hey, you can load up on Athletic Brewing.
I
But
mean, I
apparently, pro
think
tip. Yeah.
this is like the second one out of my 6-pack I'm drinking. So,
I
whatever.
respect it. I'm trying
It's
to
Tuesday
help
night. I
people
got a
out.
lot to do. Got a lot of work going on. A lot of things happening. We're training. We can't be drinking every night of the week, folks. Okay.
It's spoken like somebody who's not in public health right now, but thanks.
Boston date set. That's our first news item of the week. So what's happening over
Yeah, we got a bunch of news to crank through. So literally this morning, I got an email and it went out on tweets and whatnot that the date has officially been set for the 2021 Boston Marathon. Obviously, it had been pushed from its normal Patriots Day, mid-April date to the fall, but we had no idea when it was. So that's now going down on October 11th, still a Monday, which makes it very intriguing because now, last year during the pandemic, when they originally had pushed it, it was going to be mid-September. And so we kind of assumed it would be probably around the same weekend. But the fact that they've now pushed it in even 3 weeks further means that all 6 Abbott Marathon majors are going to be occurring within a 6-week span.
Wow.
So literally that means if you add in the Olympics, so the Olympic marathon happens on August 7th and 8th. Jump forward to September. You have Berlin on September 26th. You have London on October 3rd. You have Chicago on October 10th. You have Boston on October 11th. You have Tokyo on the 17th. You have New York City as the last of the marathon majors on November 7th. And then a month later on December 5th, you have Valencia, which, is where all world record attempts at the half marathon and marathon go to potentially take it over. And then theoretically, also in that same time period, you're going to have CIM, the California International Marathon, where most Americans go to get their Olympic trials qualifier. So really within like a 2.5 month span, we're going to have everything, like literally every major component of the marathon racing season is about to go down. We're going to see a lot of odd doubles because you have people who do both, like London and Boston, or London and New York, or Berlin, and it's going to be nuts. So if somebody was in last year to more than one of those marathons and they got their registration deferred, it's going to be a lot of hard decisions coming up. They haven't said for Boston specifically how large the field size is going to be. A lot of that still comes down to permitting because you have like 7 or 8 cities that the marathon has to travel through. So everybody has to green light it. So we don't know how many people will get in. We don't know what that means for the qualifications. If that means that the time window is going to move for who gets in. We don't even know when registration is going to open. All those details are forthcoming. But folks started booking some flights and some hotels today in advance just to prepare. So the fall, it's going to be lit if you are a marathon fan or a marathon runner. It's going to be batty, absolutely batty.
Well, and I think on the ultra side of things, I think the 24-hour World Championship, I think, is in October now. And then, of course, we'll have Desert Solstice. So it's going to be a lot of things push into that fall time period that will be competing for attention and runners and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, if you're a sponsor, you're about to make up for all the travel you did not do in 2020. And it's kind of crazy to think about because the running event normally also happens at the first weekend of December. And so you're literally going to have all of these people who are coming off of very different competitive marathons, right? Because there's a circumstance where you'll have some people who double back from the Olympics to run some of these majors, but because they're so close together, all of the elite talent is just going to spread out. So somebody who might normally only be like 7th through 10th at a marathon major, all of a sudden, just because of where people decide to show up, might have a legit chance to win. So it'll be super interesting. We'll see if Sarah Hall decides to do 3 different marathons in that time period, or something crazy. So get excited. We're about to get some really interesting shakeups to who's like the USATF athlete of the year right there towards the end of the calendar year.
For sure. What else we got going on in the run flat, stay low world?
Run Flat Stay Low World. Okay, so we had a busy weekend of competition. If you are somebody who watches ESPN, you might have actually seen that there was legitimate professional indoor track occurring. The first of 4 meets for the American track and field circuit occurred. Big highlights were Grant Holloway in the 60-meter hurdles, because running flat means you can still jump something that's 42 inches high. And he ran an American record 7:35, tying his record from last year, which means he's in pretty damn good shape. And he's just a freak beast. So watch out for that. And then Ryan Krauser, keeping it very America-centric again, just set the indoor world record in the shot put. He has more throws over 22.5 meters in his career than the next 4 people on the list combined or something wild. But he threw it 22.82 meters, and it blew away the indoor world record, but it's also within like a tenth of a meter of his outdoor personal best. So going into the Olympics this year, he's obviously the favorite, but not by a huge margin. There's still 2 guys right behind him. So going to be very competitive in the field events. And not a lot of love normally gets shown to the throws, even in coverage. So got to shout out when folks are doing big things. And the best part was in an interview, he said he wasn't even to his speed work phase yet. So it's kind of like when people come out of base training and distance and they put up an impressive time. They're like, I haven't even started workouts yet. That's essentially what he said. He's only been doing heavy lifts, throwing extra heavy shots in practice. And so to throw this out bodes very well for him. So that was indoor track in a nutshell. Outdoors on the roads, Molly Seidel, as we told you was going to happen, did announce that she signed with Puma and then went on Saturday to win the Vegas Gold Elite Half Marathon, ran 69:19 for the win on the women's side in her new Puma kit. On the men's side, you had Patrick Tiernan, the old Villanova standout, if I remember correctly. He won on the men's side 62:37. What else is happening in the run flat world? You had Sarah Inglis, who you might remember from the Marathon Project, put together a pretty solid time there. She joined the Scottish Marathon Project, which is not a competition, but it's sort of a training group with the sole focus of trying to get a bunch of Scottish marathoners to run super damn quick with the 2022 Commonwealth Games. So that's happening. You have an interesting situation with Britain, especially. There's a whole equity issue happening with should women be running the same distances as men in cross-country races and some of the longer outdoor events. So apparently a bunch of British elite women said, no, we would rather run a 8K cross-country race and have the men race 12K than have both genders just run 10K. So it kind of goes against a lot of what we sort of been hearing in the ultra world, or really most of the track world.
That's interesting. So they want to go shorter.
They apparently they put together an interestingly argued letter to basically say that there are certain events that women are stronger at, and we don't necessarily need to compare ourselves to men. We need to compare ourselves, to what makes women the most competitive against each other. And that was there was a lot of pushback on that, as one would imagine, especially because on the track, for instance, women and men both race 5K, women and men both race 10K. So what's unique about cross country that they felt the need to take this stance? There's also obviously a lot of corollaries when you start looking at the marathon and the ultra world, where women are getting closer and closer to the men as you get to the sort of the pointy end of the spear, especially as you start getting to the long distances. Looking at you, Camille and Courtney. So a lot of hot takes on Twitter about that. We're just powering through all the news in one go, and then we'll double back.
Yeah, for sure. What's Florida? Florida's gonna Florida.
Florida's gonna Florida. So I believe it's the Chamber of Commerce for Florida sent a letter to the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, saying because there have been a lot of conflicting news reports coming out of Japan, whether or not Tokyo officials are confident that they can host the Olympics this summer because of the pandemic and vaccine rollouts. Basically, the Chamber of Commerce said, if Tokyo won't do it, we will. So if Tokyo backs out, they will host the whole 2021 Olympics. And so that's their hot take because Florida's going to Florida. Florida don't give a damn.
Chamber of Commerce getting at it.
They're like, hey, we will take that funding, even though every Olympics ever has basically lost money. But you guys do you. You have enough stadiums. It's good enough weather. I mean, it's only the front end of hurricane season, so what's the worst that could happen? It's just Florida's excited to apparently get people in stands. So let's see how that works out for all the crowds outside of the Super Bowl in 2 weeks' time. What else? Last couple things. More moving to the ultra world. We've got the North Face dropped the new shoe today. Their carbon entry into the scene. So the Vective.
Yeah, I saw the teases for that. So because it's like their Instagram, they revived their like North Face Trail Instagram page, and that was all for this launch of this new shoe. But it's a trail carbon shoe, or is it mixed trail road?
No, it's pretty much a trail shoe. So a couple of folks specifically that I saw on Instagram, Corey Woltering and Patty O'Leary, both North Face sponsored athletes, talked about how they've been using the shoe in testing on trails. So literally Corey today went and set an FKT on a mountain in Nevada, up and down, just like super scree stuff, which if you haven't looked at it, check it out. Cause it reminded me a lot of Kendall Mountain in terms of just like how batty it looked from a distance. But he did it in this shoe. Patty was talking about the Desolation Wilderness and some of the stuff.
Is he wearing a helmet?
In the headlines. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Look,
that's awesome.
Scroll
he's got
over.
it. Okay. He's insane. Got it like on the way on like one section. He's like got it clipped on his waist belt. And then another one, he's just bombing down. Like,
yeah, it is ridiculous.
Bombing down this trail with a freaking helmet on. That is like so badass. I love that.
Just scroll to the last photo and you can really encapsulate like how absurd this FKT is.
Wow. That is a crazy road.
Scree shoot. Just
wow.
Yeah, it's insane. So if you don't follow Corey on IG, Corey Woltering, track down that specific post.
Frenchman Mountain in Vegas.
Yeah.
And it looks like quite a day because there's snow all over it.
I'm telling you, weather systems out west is nuts.
It snowed at our office yesterday. If that tells you something.
And you guys are at what, 1,100 feet?
Yeah, I'm at the airport in Phoenix, and we had it starting to accumulate, on the side of our building. So as soon as all that was happening, I was like, well, I'm going to go run right now. So I got like I had all my winter coats and gloves in my car. And I went to South Mountain, little offshoot story here. Went to South Mountain. I was going to do like 4 hours. And, as soon as I start running, the rain stops. And within 45 minutes, it was just blue skies and sun. It's like, all right. And then about 5 minutes before I finished my run, it was after dark, starts raining again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so
odd. Yeah, just seeing pictures of snow in the heart of Scottsdale just blew my mind on Twitter. But yeah, apparently that's what I'm saying. The Bay Area is going to be in a similar situation in the next couple of days, and Tahoe is just going to get slammed. So the entire West Coast is it's going to be really interesting.
I'm watching my rain gauges on the Black Canyon Trail. And they got 2.5 inches in the past 3 days. So the levels haven't really come up yet, but I'm assuming if it rains good tomorrow, it might start actually flowing, especially now that there's snow above it. That'll probably recharge those creeks and everything. 'Cause they've been basically almost bone dry as of late. We needed it.
True. Yeah, there's a lot going on in terms of drought across the basin as well. So we'll take it. We'll take a little bit of rain, even if it comes with some really weird stories. So watch those painted lines and have good traction on your shoes, which the North Face is apparently doing with Vective. Let's continue on this North Face grind because we had the Trial of Miles finale. So we kind of previewed it last week, but just to run through it really quickly for you. In New York City, which is a race across the Brooklyn Bridge for the finals, Rolanda Bell and Joe Stillen, I still don't know how to say it. They won. So a bunch of basically semi-pro and basically pro runners in New York City took it. Austin, you had Alexandria Cruz and Mark Pinales took it out for them. In Boston, you had Ben Bosworth and I think Riley was the one who won it on the women's side. And then the one that's near and dear to my heart and how this ties into the North Face, Patty O'Leary did take it for the ultra runners against two marathon Olympic qualifiers, Olympic trials qualifiers. He goes out there and wins by 6 seconds up Twin Peaks. So kudos to the lad there. And then Eo Wang on the women's side in the San Francisco division, holding it down again for the ultra runners, wins by 2 seconds up that same course. So I can't speak for the other three cities, but I just know the Bay Area, we got ultra runners stunting on everybody, and that's always great to see. So that's the Trial of Miles recap.
Legit.
Last two things on the news front, and then we're going to dive into what I'm sure everybody's here for.
Yes.
First and foremost, keeping it in the media conglomerates and ultra running, I Run Far gets purchased, or however you want to phrase it, by All Gear. So now they're a part of a media conglomerate. I Run Far is everywhere until they weren't because of the pandemic. And, they've kind of been in the dark in terms of race coverage, like Bandera and Carbon X. But I imagine a lot of that's because they were working on this in the background. So hopefully this means that we're going to see a little bit more uptake on races specifically, in addition to the commentary pieces they've been doing, because any exposure for ultra running is probably good at this point. And then lastly, okay, I wrote notes on this one. There's a bunch of weird things in terms of pronunciation. I don't want to necessarily completely ruin it. So I think it's Justin Koski, something like that. I'm sorry, guy. He ran an FKT basically across Long Island. So it's a rail trail, it looks like, or I guess really just a trail, 200 kilometers. He took 6 hours off the FKT, unsupported. So all him on his person going for it. 25 hours, 42 minutes, and 51 seconds. He did this a couple weeks ago, but the FKT just went up on the site, and you know how it goes in terms of writing the blog and whatnot. So it's about 9,800 feet of climbing over 125 miles. So about as flat as you're probably going to get for a random FKT across a major
9,000 feet of climbing, or
9,000 feet of climbing across Long Island over the course of 124 miles. Okay. So I'm qualifying it as flat, okay, because that's twice as large as half the damn 50Ks we end up running in terms of elevation gain. So that was a big interesting FKT coming out as recently, especially because New York winters aren't necessarily known for being the most fun. So to put one down at the beginning of January is exciting. So that's news, the quick and dirty, run flat, stay low news. Is there anything in the chat we need to address, or should we just get to Carbon X? Because that's what people want to talk about.
There's not a whole lot yet. I think people are just absorbing all of that. Jem is talking about Zach Miller has also posted about the shoe. For the North Face. I bet all North Face athletes have, since they're probably contractually required to. But that's how it goes. We should probably get into Carbon X for sure. Talk about that a bit. Because that popped up on the radar somewhat recently. When did they actually announce that was happening? Maybe was it a month ago? Or less,
if that. I honestly think it might have been just after New Year's. Yeah.
So it was probably within the last 3 weeks, but obviously behind the scenes, they've been planning on this for, I think the team that put it on 8 months or a year, something like that. So I had a little bit of behind the scenes access on that one. Myself and our team here at Aravipo was asked by the folks at Soul Focus, who they basically directed the event. So they were in charge of procuring the venue and the permits and the film crew, all the timing, the course certification, the logistics of the event to help assist Hoka in order to pull this thing off. I think they did a great job. Your view from afar, Skylar?
It was solid. Yeah. I mean, the media apparatus behind it, being able to watch it on their website and on YouTube, looked very smooth. I mean, we can have qualms around where mile markers were and, sort of like how easy it was to follow if you didn't know exactly where on the course they were, and little things like that. But on the whole, it looked like it was run pretty damn smoothly.
That's great. Yeah, and I was there, I was there firsthand because I was in the lead Tesla actually in front of
Oh, we,
Jim
oh, we,
Walmsley.
we saw you.
Well, there you go. Really? Yeah. What was you said something about me swerving in front of Jim? What
Yeah,
the
so
heck?
there was one point where I was watching. It must have been the second to last time he was coming down the that long drag strip, so like that full half mile into the finish line, and I knew it was you because I've seen you driving up. That I know exactly how you like relax as you're driving with one hand, and I was like, oh yeah, Jamil's driving that car, and literally as soon the way that the camera shot worked, because it was from the finish line, the car blocks Jim and with the clock on it, you're like, okay, look, it's Jam, and then you just like hard swerved, and like all of a sudden we can see Jim, which was great from a well, that's nice for the camera view, but I'm like, you driving like that's horrible.
It
Like,
was
no,
probably no, it was probably because there's a huge screen in front of me, so I can see like the car and myself, and I probably realized I was in front of Jim, and I was like, "Oh shit, I better get out of the way so the camera can see him."
dude, there are walls. Like it's still a drag strip. So like
That's
when you
fine.
swerved, I was like, I don't know if he's gonna hit that wall.
Ah,
If
come
he,
on.
I was like, he hits that or he swerves the other way to like correct because he wasn't paying attention. I was like, I don't think he's on his phone. So yeah, it was. I laughed. I audibly laughed. I was like, yeah, I gotta give him crap on Twitter so that once
Yeah.
he gets out the
I
car,
mean,
he knows.
if I was in front of if I was in between the camera and Jim, and then I kind of swerved over so that you could see Jim again, it was probably because I saw myself on the big screen.
You had
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, you had 2 days. You had more than 2 days to come up with an excuse, and that's the best one you came up with.
I mean, it's just facts.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Uh, yeah. So I took one lap off I get like one potty break basically. So I think lap 4 I wasn't driving, but the rest of the time I was. It was a good time. The last lap was super interesting. Hearing him like just yelling basically and screaming because I mean, shoot, he's been running 5:55 pace for 5.5 hours, and he's got to grind out another 30 plus minutes of that, which is pretty ridiculous. And yeah, it's a shame because it seemed like I don't know. I don't know how all the splits worked out and the mileages and all that, but even up until like the second to last lap, they kept saying he had like 2 minutes or a minute 45 under the record. And then he like gave it all away and ended up 11 seconds or 12 seconds over, whatever it ended up being.
Mhm.
It was tough to say. It's tough to know, like even me driving, like obviously you learn the loop, it's the same loop, but you still don't know exactly, where you're at and how long it'll take to get to that finish line. And I mean, 11 or 12 seconds, that's like, it ends up being like about 50 meters that he missed it by or something like that, or less. So it's not a very big distance. And, it's like, yeah, you start to think 11 seconds throughout a 6 hour and 9 minute day. It
Yeah,
could have been anything. Um,
it's literally a fifth of a minute every mile or something like that. Or not even fifth of a minute, fifth of a second every
yeah,
mile. Like it's literally like zero point 0.2
it's like
seconds every
nothing. Yeah,
mile.
it's like, oh, it's so nothing. And it's like, he probably couldn't have made that up in the last mile, but like 2 to go, if he knew, who knows? It's tough to say. It's so close, and who knows what was going on in his head. I mean, I'm sure he was pushing as hard as he could, but I don't know. I don't know if he knew he had no cushion or that he was behind. It almost, I got the sense from listening to the commentary that he had a couple minutes to spare and that it was going to happen. And then it came down to the wire and he just didn't have it. So I think his watch was, 62.5 miles. And of course, 100K is 62. Actually, what is it? It's 62.2, I
Mhm.
believe. So, he he hit the 100K on his watch before the finish line and then had to go another 0.2, 0.3. So I don't know if he was pacing himself on that. But, it is what it is. It's certified course. Certified not to be short, that's for sure. So was it long? Better err on the side of a little long. But anyway, still incredible performance all around.
Absolutely. Yeah, watching from afar, especially in the live chat on YouTube, which is the worst place to be in when you're watching something of this magnitude, you find out very quickly how little certain people know about the sport. There was a
point because I wasn't tuned into that at all.
Dude,
I had my earpiece in so I could listen to the commentators and just kind of keep track of like what was going on. But I had no idea what was going on in the chat room.
Yeah, it was. Well, there were people. So one of the first times that they showed Camille's form, you had a bunch of people like, "Oh no, she must be uncomfortable." Oh, like all the things that.
And you're like, no, that's just how she runs.
Correct. Like literally, I wrote in the chat like, clearly anyone talking about Camille's form right now is not a fan of ultra running, and like a ton of people were like, "Yeah, obviously these fools have no idea what they're talking about." It was basically like the Let's Run message boards. It was like, what would happen if Sage was out here? And like dunking on him? What would happen like Seth James Damore versus Sage? Like who would win? Like it was just the normal troll.
I mean,
BS.
Sage could have been out there. He's Hoka, right? Who knows why he wasn't?
Yeah, I think he was coming back from some sort of like niggle, and maybe his hamstring.
There was quite a few athletes that didn't line up that were supposed to. You got Pat Reagan, Devin Yanko. I forget who else.
Yeah, it was significantly decreased on the women's side, especially. But yeah, it was basically the chat room was where dreams went to die until the last like 30 minutes when every YouTube running celebrity showed up. So it was like the Ginger Runner, Sage was in there.
In
the chat, Seth was there. Kofuzi was there. Basically, everyone that folks suggested we get for this podcast was in that chat at that time. It was hilarious to watch. Just like show up for the final moment, so you don't have to deal with the chat the rest of the day, and then just like slowly get out.
We got some stuff in the chat happening here. Brian Aaliyah, Jam, true, you were driving the pace car. Any pressure there? Yeah, that's true story. I was ahead of the lead men the whole day. I definitely took the role seriously. And it was kind of stressful. I'm constantly looking back. I was trying to stay not too far away. I did have a race clock up on the top of the car, which I think they had to reset it after like the second lap because it was off. But then Jim was like, he told me after, he's like, I couldn't even see the clock, or I don't know if it's just because of he doesn't have a good vision, or like I was too far away, or it's just because of the numbers and the call. I don't know. It was moving. No idea. And we have some commentary on the distances. So Nancy Hobbs, I asked the record keeper about the distance because I wondered what Jim Strava would read. Certification builds in a longer rather than shorter. Not sure of the actual percent longer. And then Lightning Racer says, certified courses have a 0.1% short course prevention factor. So the course was 100 meters longer than 100K. So there you go. That very well could have made the difference. Of course, you would think that the Lake Soroma course in Japan, where the current world record was set, would also have that same exact prevention factor built into it. So they should be comparable. But now we're talking like what percent of 100K. It's like at some point the rounding becomes a significant amount. So it's tough. It's real tough.
You're talking about a situation where a guy hit a fence and like clipped his shoulder and started bleeding. After that, he probably wasn't cutting corners very tightly, So it's like even those little things add up over the course of
that was pretty wild.
The 4 loops or whatnot.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that happened because there is a bit of a tight turn right out of the gate there. And I guess, he hit like a fence, or Tim Tollefson posted there was like a bolt. It was sticking out. And I remember I was trying to get a little bit ahead of them all because it was right around when he was passing some of the lead women. So that was something that we kind of had to just deal with on the fly. There was there's quite a procession. If you saw the live stream, it was the Tesla out front. There was a Tesla out of front of the women and the men. Then there was basically the little smart car with Eric Sensman and the camera on it. And they were like right in front of Jim. So I had to be ahead of them. And then there's someone on a bicycle that was on our team and always there. And then sometimes there's like motorcycle camera guy. So there's like this procession that kind of has to stay within a distance going through the whole course. And then at some point we have to start passing runners that are being lapped. So we have to manage, and there's some narrow sections of the course too, where we don't really have much room to work with. So I got lucky when we were passing Camille because she like ducked right into a porta potty. I was able to kind of get past, but sometimes I had to leapfrog ahead in the Tesla just so that the smart car could kind of, they had enough room to pass and get everyone around. Anyways, it was one of those moments where, I got ahead of the woman and then they had to go through that area where there was a lot of turns. And that's when I guess Jim clipped the fence. So yeah, pretty wild to see. Like, I didn't even know it happened. And all of a sudden the commentators were like, Jim appears to be bleeding. Like, oh, wow, what the heck?
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. Although it looked baller as hell by the end because, mixed with the sweat, it just finally got to like the white component of the jersey. And so it was just like blood washed. And I was like, okay, even for a road ultra, we found a way to make this rugged as hell.
That's what I was saying. It's like, it's crazy. Because you've seen like, what was the one? Mike Wolf one year at North Face where he like hit his head on a branch and it like started squirting blood like all over his body. And like, it's like, it looked like he just ran out of the woods, like got attacked by, I don't know, pack of wild animals or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's such a great point. Just like even in a freaking road ultra, you like come out bloodied and battered. What a sport.
I know, which is absurd. Let's also not just make this the Jim show. We have to shout out some of the other folks. Obviously, Jim just had missed the world record, but set the American record by a huge amount. He ran 6:09.26 officially. And his splits, 50K to 50K, you think based on like the commentary and what we saw, like the wheels fell off. His first 50K was in 3:04.15. His second 50K was 3:05.11. So he still did like
3:04 what?
3:04.15, 3:05.11. So he was only like 56 seconds or something slower in the second 50K than he was the first.
Incredible pacing. I mean, you look at his Strava, it was pretty much all like 5:54, 5:55s almost the whole day. There was almost no variance. It was like Nick's Desert Solstice through 21 hours. It's incredible. And I think he even had a quick, I don't know if did he drop in a porta potty?
Yeah. I think it must have been like
25 seconds slower. There was a 6:20 in there.
Yeah. He went, and that 5K, cause that's how everything was being reported, sort of in the live stream, it dropped back to like 18 high when he went to that bathroom break. And then the next 5K was right when he was trying to catch up to the pack, and he dropped to 1750. So he, just in the spirit, in the middle of 100K to get back into the pack, he runs a faster 5K than many of us do in a flat out road race. And then, still has the wherewithal to damn near evenly split the back half of a 50K. Most of us rig aggressively in a half marathon, a 50K, and then he doesn't. So our hot takes were super wrong last week, apparently, or at least mine was. So shout out Jim. My bad. Glad I could give you some locker fodder, some locker room fodder to put up there. Way to prove me wrong. In second place was Raj Panu, who ran 6:28.31. Shout out because he's actually from. I don't know if we get to claim him as from the Bay Area, but he runs with the Hoka Aggies up in the Davis area. And so he's on like the Pacific USATF cross country circuit. I was watching, I was like, I know that guy from somewhere. And then like I did a quick search and I was like, that's why, because he's badass at short distances. It's like a 2:17 marathon or something. And in his debut 100K goes and takes second, basically solo the entire time. He's like, there's the world record group. there's the American record group, and I'm just going to run in the middle by myself for almost all of
Yeah,
this.
because he wasn't even in that lead pack basically after the first bit of separation, and then he was probably running in a pack for a bit, but then he kind of at some point it splintered away.
He bridged. Yeah, I think he was in the American record group, and then he's like, I'm going to go for it myself, and then was just in no man's land for more than half of the race.
That was impressive. And only 1 minute off the former record.
Yeah. So he's definitely got some good things ahead for him in the ultra world should he choose it. But more importantly, Tim Tollefson said that Raj is the person with the best hair in ultra running now. So Tim himself handed that baton off.
Basically passing the torch, essentially.
Indeed. So shout out to Raj for being the Instagram delight and taking the silver. And then in third place,
following him on Instagram, actually, I had to there's a lot of new names after this weekend, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Lightning Raj. Oh, I am following him now. Lightning Raj on Instagram. You're going to get the courtesy shout out on the Mountain Outpost pod. Please go follow Raj. He is a 2:17 marathoner, Olympic trials qualifier. It says Denver Bay Area. Aggies running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they were saying that he had been training in Denver for the back half of 2020 because, pandemic.
Yeah, look at that hair right there.
Flowing. It was just behind. It was some real Fabio situations going on the live stream. So I get it. I'm not mad at it. And then in third place is a name that we know, Chris Brown, now from the Seattle area, but originally came to our attention when he was down in Santa Barbara. He takes third in 6:39.14, and that damn mustache, which I love so much. So shout out to KV. Super excited for him to step up and knock out that third place, because during the first Carbon X event, he paced like 40 miles. He was only supposed to go like 20, and then he ended up like running a 50K, and then he's like, well, I might as well just stay in it. So he ended up pacing, and they were like, you should probably just come back and really go for it this time. And it pays off for him to get third in 6:39. And then on the women's side, it was all over the board. So I'll be interested to see like what your thoughts are. A lot happened on the women's side.
I could follow it, being kind of like I would see on the out and back kind of like side by side sections of the course. I would like see the women and say hi to Brian, who was driving the other car. But yeah, there was I don't even remember everyone's name. You'll have to help fill it in.
That's right.
But the longtime leader ended up dropping to the very back of the pack, kind of fell apart.
Yeah, Carla Molinaro. Yes, she's from the UK, the record holder of the UK version of the Transcon. So just like running physically across the entire UK. She holds that record, and she was out front for ages, well under the British record.
Running by herself out front.
Yeah.
Like whole day, pretty much.
Cruising. Apparently, I think the UK record was only like 7:36, 7:30, like something in that mid 7 hour range. But she was just gunning for 7 hours for a while. And then all of a sudden, there's a situation where Camille ends up dropping as she's about to catch Carla. And then, is it Audrey? Ends up making the pass, and then she's running away. And then the women's race was just, Audrey pretty much just like kept running away with it. So French domination, I guess, at that point. But then the Americans were cycling up and battling. So Audrey Tanguy takes first for the women in 7:40.36. Nicole Manet. See, now I'm just like going off the top of the dome, and somebody can correct me in the chat. 7:43.08. So I guess in the course of 100K, that's still pretty competitive to lose or only be trailing by 3 minutes after 62 miles. And then Courtney Olson comes in 7:55, and then Carla comes in just over 8 hours ultimately.
Pretty tight pack for the women.
Pretty tight spread after all was said and done. But yeah, the women's race was very interesting because all of a sudden, as often happens with media coverage, there's a lot of attention on the men's side because they're going to finish first and Jim's going to finish first. And all of a sudden they go back to the women. You're like, oh, like Audrey's in front by,
Whole thing had changed up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but it always happens.
Some sort of a hip pain that she didn't want to, I guess, test it. So we'll see how that pans out for her in her season this year. I know she's targeting Western States. So,
yep. And what was interesting, so we don't ever really get this peek into the finances of ultra running or especially contract stuff, but they did a pretty thorough walkthrough at one point on the live broadcast. Did you hear about the details of this at all?
Well, what I did, I don't know if you're referring to the same thing. I did hear that all athletes and pacers who showed up got an appearance fee. I didn't hear like any numbers of what they got. Did they talk like specifics on dollar amounts?
So they didn't talk about specific dollar amounts, but they gave a lot of insight into all of the what do you call those? Basically every level that you clear, the magnifiers or multipliers or whatever. So basically, just taking the men's side, for instance, everybody got an appearance fee for showing up.
Yep.
It's still a race. So first, second, and third get a prize automatically. Boom. Then there were bonuses for time. So every person, regardless of if they were top three, I mean, you could have like 10 guys finish sub whatever, and they would all get a bonus. There was a bonus at 640. There was a bonus at 630. There was a bonus at 620. If you set the national record for your nation, because we had some Swedes out there, shout out Elof, miss you, buddy. And so for the Swedes, if they got into their old national record, they got a bonus. In addition to those other time standards, American record, same thing. So it was really interesting to hear.
World record, of course, too.
And the world record, yes. There were breakdowns on the women's side that were similar. So it was just really interesting to hear about the mechanics of like, oh, this is what these folks have on the line, even when, if you're not necessarily going to break the American record, Raj just missed it, but there was still money on the line for him getting under 630. He runs 628.31. He could have just like cruised it in. He was still 11 minutes ahead of Chris, but by pushing to the finish line, he got, an extra bit of cash thrown his way. So it was just really interesting to hear all that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty cool, just like the appearance fee for all athletes, including all pacers that showed up. I mean, just in general, the fact that, because like every single athlete there was a Hoka athlete. Like it's pretty impressive. Like you can put together like a world-class 100K race with just your team. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Impressive. And like, So Devin runs for Hoka then? Devin Yanko?
That was the one I was confused by.
Because I was like, I'm not sure about that. But maybe there's different levels. I don't know. Who knows?
Let me look. Let's see what she has officially posted.
I mean, yeah, it's 2021. Maybe there's been some change ups.
Yeah.
I mean, Camille literally just joined, so I might just missed that one. Yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, and yeah, just in terms of like COVID protocols, just for people wondering, I mean, they said they performed, I think, 1,000 COVID tests for the event in terms of like all the staff and film production crew and all that kind of stuff. So like I had to go take a PCR test on Thursday, get cleared by Friday to show up on Saturday. Anyone that was more directly working with the athletes had to take 3 tests. And the athletes themselves, I think, had to take at least 3 tests once they arrived into Arizona. So anyway, that's Carbon X for you.
Yeah. So a quick browse of Devin's Instagram is, at least in the bio, doesn't list being a Hoka athlete, and doing a quick scope of when she time trialed her 50K back in December. It doesn't look like she's wearing Hoka shoes. So if she is a Hoka athlete officially now, that is that's definitely like a 2021 move. So that's your social stalking of the week. If she is, she hasn't definitively said. I'm not seeing a lot of hashtags. I'm not seeing them tagged in posts. So who knows? Maybe she's just like a free agent that Hoka was able to try to entice, or she coaches a bunch of Hoka athletes potentially, because I think she's coaching with Chosky or what have you. So yeah, no idea. So yeah, so that's all I had for Carbon X2.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, it was good. It was good for the sport. I mean, listen, for the live chat being as a dumpster fire as it was at points,
It's always going to be like that. I mean,
exactly.
YouTube. I mean, where's our dumpster fire, folks? Come on, get active.
No, and then but it means there were people who don't normally follow ultra running that at least watched. And I mean, there's this. I've heard on just like other podcasts, folks mention that aren't ultra running versed at all, talking about how little Jim missed it by. Most of those people can't also understand how somebody does anything for 6 hours, but
what was the viewership peak out at the end of the show? It was like 22,000 or something like that. Do you
probably
remember?
something like that? I don't. I was not
like
looking at that.
4,000 early on, and then it was like I just noticed it kind of like going up throughout the event, and then I think it was like 22 or 23,000. So it's probably what I expected. That was pretty good. We're moving into the latter parts of the episode. If you guys are in the chat, welcome once again. Drop your questions for us. We've got a few questions that were submitted through Instagram we're going to get to first. So we thank you all for taking us up on that. And our first one is from Brian Aaliyah. Is Jim still planning to run Black Canyon? So that's a good question. He talked, I listened to the Let's Run podcast with him ahead of this event. He's talking about his plans to run Black Canyon. I know he's submitted in for it. We'll just have to see. Eric Sensman says no way. Like he told me that on site. He's like, there's no way he's going to do it because he just ran 6:09 and he's going to be freaking wrecked. And he's like, if he does decide to do it, I'm going to kick his ass. So that was pretty great. Sensman may not appreciate me saying that, but whatever. So yeah, if you're in the chat here, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, please give us your questions. It could be literally anything having to do with myself, with Skylar, with what happened this weekend, with anything else in running, anything else in the sport, anything you want to know. Could be a question about something having to do with your own running. We'd be happy to answer them. Yeah.
So we also solicit these questions on Instagram ahead of time. So while we're waiting for things to populate in the chat, let me loft one at you that we got. It's actually an oldie that I've been hanging on for us to hopefully. I don't know if Nancy Hobbs is in the chat tonight, but she might also have some feelings on this. But somebody wrote in, they're a younger athlete and sort of like training age, not necessarily calendar chronological age, and was asking, what does it take to make the U.S. 24-hour team? Recognizing that, especially in ultra running, a lot of folks sort of hit their stride, hit their peak in their mid to late 30s. We see people who are doing the timed event stuff well into their 40s, 50s, 60s. They're still crushing it. But in terms of making that 24-hour team, a lot of the U.S. folks tend to be on the back half of 30. So in your experience and knowing a lot of these athletes through your work that are competing for the 24-hour spot, what does it take for someone who wants to or who aspires to be on the 24-hour team to make that jump, both in, I guess, training up to it and then also sort of the psychology of the 24-hour distance and being successful at it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, just in terms of like, how do you actually qualify for the team? They reset those standards, I believe, every year or every 2 years, whenever there's a world championship that happens. And the ways to get into it, you can auto qualify for winning the 24-hour national championship. And then they take, I think if you were like on the world's top performer at worlds, you get an automatic, and then the rest of the spots just go by top performances. And in this day and age, I mean, right now the fifth and sixth seed is Nick Curry and Ryan Montgomery, and they're like 155, 154 miles. So a couple of years back, I think Nick made it when he ran in the 130s. So, you're going to have to basically a national class performance at 24 hours for the men. The women are also, actually, I think some of the years the women are outperforming half the men on the team, especially with Courtney and Catlin Nagy and some others. So in terms of what it takes to get there, I mean, I would look towards some of the people that There's a lot of information out there now. My brother is a great example of someone who's put in the work. So years and years of consistent running, high mileage, pacing. Becoming a master at pacing is so important. You have to gain a level of patience that is like unmatched. I mean, there's different ways to do it for sure. Like a Camille Herron can go out hard, blow up, hang on, and set a world record, which means like imagine her potential if she was able to pace it a little bit more evenly. So it just kind of depends, but I think study, look and see what some of the top athletes are doing, see what they're doing in terms of training, but a lot of times it just goes into sheer volume and pacing and consistency. Nancy Hobbs is in the chat. I'm going to try and see what she's saying here. Just posted the updated 24-hour team selection. She'll grab the link. I don't know if links come across in YouTube videos, but USATF, you can go over to the website there and search for like 24-hour qualifying. And it should come up. Does that kind of answer it?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so let me sort of ask the psychology of it, because obviously it takes a special person to run ultras at the elite level, and it takes a very particular type of person to run on a looped course for 24 hours specifically. So you're related to somebody who's made the team. You've hosted events that have set national and world records over fixed time distances. So what sort of psychological traits do you see consistently amongst those runners? Is it, are you seeing a ability to just like completely turn it off and zone out? Is it hyper focused? Is it, it's just like sheer grit and determination, or A-type personalities? Like what's sort of some consistent themes you're seeing from the mental game of these folks who are excelling at the distance?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think an ability to push through pain, a level of mental fortitude. It's someone that, you're able to go somewhere in your headspace to kind of get in that zone out, because it can be so monotonous around the track. And you'll find these athletes, year after year, they come back to the track and they can just run around it for 24 hours. It's pretty amazing. They're not out there for the scenery. They're out there to test their body and test their mind, and they like relish in that sort of a challenge. So, I don't know. That's what I see.
That's fair. All right, I got two quick hitters for you, and then we can turn to the ones in the live chat. What's the best sandwich consumed during an ultra? Like, what's the best sandwich to consume? That's it. That's the question.
Best sandwich to consume. I mean, I like a grilled cheese sandwich. Simple as that.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was thinking about this because I don't think I've ever had solid food in a race. Like I've never been in a,
or like avocado, like something with avocado in it would be just delicious. Like you get some of that good fats in there later in a race.
Yeah. I was thinking like, that like marshmallow spread.
Oh, like fluff.
Yeah. I was like, that would probably be good on its own. Just like some like wheat bread and fluff, or tortilla and fluff would probably be my jam. Like in my head, that just seems like something that's easy to digest, easy to chew while moving, and probably not a choking hazard.
I did a long run with my friend this weekend in the White Tanks, and he had a little baggie of snacks. He had these like oat bars and then marshmallows. Just like crushing some, again, top of a climb, crush some marshmallows. Why not?
Yeah, marshmallows are the jam. There was I came back to college once early for like training just before the cross country season. And I swear every day after practice, I had cream soda and marshmallows, which is not good nutrition for college athletics, but it was so damn delicious. And so, yes, they hold a special place in my heart.
Talking about cream soda, weren't you on Twitter or something?
Okay, listen, the Dr. Pepper cream soda is the bomb, and apparently they're now finally mass marketing it. It was like a limited edition release, And I went all over the place. I was at liquor stores, 7-Elevens, grocery stores. I literally mail ordered it on Amazon. Like, it wasn't Amazon Prime. It was like, hey, we're going to find this shipper and it's going to take 2.5 weeks for you to get it. Like, I was about this Dr. Pepper cream soda life because it is awesome. It's awesome on its own. It's awesome in a cocktail if that's your jam. It is the bomb. And so now they're finally hawking it. Amelia Boone was on my team and saying that, like, it's great. So that's how you know it's legit, when like multi-time world champion OCR competitors are saying it's bomb. It's bomb. So if you come across Dr. Pepper cream soda, give it a shot. It's legit. Okay, that's it.
Kevin had jumping in here with his favorite ultra sandwich: peanut butter plus banana plus honey Sammy is the jam.
Peanut butter and honey is always a jam. I'm concerned about like eating while moving, and peanut butter like always concerns me, especially if it's like a chunky peanut butter, because like you're gonna choke on a nut. But yeah, it just seems like it would be like your mouth is dry because you've been out there for a long time. And you're trying to chew this peanut butter and bread, and it's all sticking. It's in my head. It sounds like it could be problematic, but who knows? Maybe I'm weird. I'm risk averse. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, and then the last question before we get to the chat is, with all these Bernie memes floating around, him and his mittens chilling at the inauguration, is Bernie Sanders the GOAT of ultra crewing? Like, is that meme what all crews should be aspiring to when we get back to a world of live racing?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we're gonna see a lot of Bernies posted up, mask, gloves, pissed off. That's it.
That was me waiting for you at Tahoe 200. So
perfect. Yeah,
got you. It's me at Cocodona. I'm just gonna every spot. I'm just gonna be here. Just...
yeah, give your crew a pair of nice Vermont mittens, everyone.
They are good. They are well made. I will attest to that.
Brian Aaliyah, just with a quick comment: Sensman's hair was the best visual of the Hoka 100K. That threw me for a loop. I was like, all right, we bleached it. Bill Hart Davidson, these manufacturer events coinciding with super shoe launches. Obviously, they are opportunistic due to COVID, but does this trend hold in the future? Brands putting up a purse and drawing folks. Yeah, I mean, these are obviously huge marketing, publicity, launch type events. That's, the live cast for Carbon X was a giant commercial, obviously. It was also cool to watch and witness, of course. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think these are going to continue? What do you think? Is this, I mean, Carbon X, the original, was not COVID era, and that happened. And I think the Phantasm 24 was probably in the works before COVID, probably, I'm assuming. So, yeah, you think these are going to keep going?
Yeah, I think they have to. If especially shoe sponsors want to get the publicity that they're looking for. Obviously, the margins on these shoes are probably pretty nice for them. I mean, the original attempt at Breaking 2 happened well before the COVID era. And, the only other times we see Road Ultras Road Ultra specifically getting shine is during the World Championships. And those aren't well publicized. You're not seeing a lot of streaming occurring during those. You sort of get Twitter updates, and that's really it. So for these type of events, I think it really does take a title sponsor coming in to put the production value in that we all get to be entertained by the race itself. And as a result of that investment, they essentially get to be hype beasts for that individual shoe brand. I mean, it could be an apparel brand, but it's never going to be an apparel brand. Now, if there ended up being a situation where all these companies or any entity dumped a bunch of money into the USATF Road Championships, then we might see a similar production value. But that's just not where the investment is.
But this way, I mean, they do it this way. They can own the whole production from start to finish. They can tailor it. I mean, if you watch the production of the Carbon X, I mean, they're going through the whole, they can hit all their points of all their company values and bring in all their ambassadors and kind of do the whole thing from top to bottom. They don't have to share airtime with anyone else. And if you want to watch what happens at this event, you got to tune in. So that's how it goes down. We have a couple comments here. The Snack Bandits. I myself can't get comfortable in carbon fiber plated shoes. What about you two? Do you own a pair of carbon plate shoes or super shoes?
I own one pair of carbon shoes. I own the original Hoka Carbon X shoe. I've run in it one time. It was fine. I literally run 18 miles in it total. I was basically saving it for when I would be interested in running a road competition in it, or at least like doing a lot of long road efforts. That opportunity hasn't presented itself. So it's been fine. I don't think I think the recovery benefits are true. I think it is easier to bounce back after those efforts. I think for the average person, the efficiency benefits are overstated. Like for a Nike 4%, you have to have pretty solid biomechanics to get the full 4% efficacy of that shoe. And I think we've all been on a sidewalk watching somebody run past us or run in front of us, be like, that person does not have great form. Like, I'm concerned for them. They're probably going to hurt themselves. So, I don't think everybody benefits from it. Like I've been at a turkey trot where I've seen folks running mid 40 something 10Ks in that carbon shoe. It's like, I don't think that's what this was built for. Give and take, but I think the Nike like Next Percents and all that are a very different build than the Hoka Carbon X and the Carbon X2. Like I don't think a lot of people, I guess Camille might be one of the few people who could actually tell us this, but the feel of running 100K in that shoe versus a Hoka shoe, I think it's fundamentally different. And now that the North Face has this trail carbon shoe, like that might be a whole different ball game of what that's gonna look like. So to each their own. I mean, Saucony has that like, was it silicone or nylon plate one? So maybe like that's a good middle ground. If like the carbon itself feels weird, you can go with the Saucony Pro Speed. Is that I think it's the Speeds that have the non-carbon, but still has a plate, and give it a shot. But yeah, just do what feels good. That's always my thing. Like everybody remembers, not everybody, nobody saw this video, my Boston video where like everybody around me is in these Nike Next Percents and I'm chilling there in some like New Balance Zonte trainers. And I'm like, we all ran 3 flat to get at this damn marathon, like whatever. And like, it is what it is.
Yeah. I've never run in carbon plated shoes, so I can't speak to it. My brother ran, what was he in? There's so many Nike shoes, the Next Percents or something. I don't know. He was in one of the pairs during his latest 24. So we have Ultra Running History in the chat. Shout out to Davey Crockett. He's dropping some knowledge on us here. U.S. record 100K progression. You got Park Barner, 1976, 7 hours, 11 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that's over an hour slower. Mm-hmm. Frank Bozanich beats it by 21 minutes. Then Bern Heinrich by 12 minutes. Then Tom Johnson took 8 minutes off that. Max King beat that one by 3 minutes. And Jim Walmsley lowered it by 18 minutes. Mm-hmm. There's your progression for American men. Pretty impressive. And now the American men's is basically on par with the world record. So Bill Hart Davidson chiming in on the Carbon X event. I agree. Controlling the event and weaving the brand story into the narrative of the race. It was cool to watch, though. No complaints. Brian Aaliyah, one of our, I think, top commenters here. We really appreciate you week in, week out. He's got just a little bit of a compliment here. He says 100% continue best production and commentary. 100% continue best production and commentary team in the Ultra Biz domestic. Is that talking about us, I hope? Or is that Carbon X something?
Because definitely, listen, if it's the Carbon X team, we're about to dunk on them when me and you do some live commentary. I'm just going to throw it out there. The bar was set. We took some notes, and now I'm playing for keeps.
If the live commentary from an event like Carbon X, great, but it's going to be very PC and very much like it's got to fit within the brand guidelines or someone's going to be fired. So we got more freedom on the show. Okay. I don't know what else to say, but we might play some Pinata Farms over here in a second. Who knows?
Oh man.
That would be great. Like for Black Canyon commentary, we just drop in our favorite Pinata Farms. Like that'd be so good.
We're
If you know what I'm
gonna
talking about, you got to go follow us on Instagram. We're dropping weird stuff over there. Yeah, I got to get your opinion. You saw me. I didn't tell you I was doing this. I dropped a
Nope.
couple wacky. These are like living memes, essentially. I think I don't even know what you call them. They're called pinatas. Who knows? Are you a fan? Yay, nay?
I was so confused because it was like I just get tagged in something. I flip over there and I was in bed. Like I was going to sleep and it was just like what in the world is happening in this? Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Great.
Like it was entertaining. It was entertaining.
Yeah, when I just got to do like one of those a week. It'll be great.
It was
Um,
akin to like we used to have like some really weird Easter eggs in the original Mountain Outpost challenge videos. It felt a lot like that. So I was like, okay, it harkens back to a simpler
yeah,
time.
I mean, this whole thing is all about it's all about having some fun. Like
Yeah.
we got to bring the fun to the scene. Um, Try and keep our memes popping. I don't know. We're not infringing on the ultra running memes guy. All right.
No,
Anyway, all
not at
right.
all. Although I mean, he did infringe on my brand. Like Vert isn't real.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like that's my brand.
All right.
Run flat,
Let's.
stay. Sorry, I'm just kidding. He's cool.
Uh,
Whatever.
is there a way? Oh, here we go. Is there a way to prevent developing plantar fasciitis? Do you guys experience it? And I think I also had a similar question um, sent to me. So I really have never had plantar. Have you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you
And
have an answer for this
it's
one?
yeah. So my experience with it personally was senior year of college. I got in the middle of track season, middle of indoor track season, carried over a bit into the beginning of outdoor. Biggest thing is a lot of lower leg injuries actually stem from your glutes. So make sure you're actually stretching the entire upstream. Don't you're like if something feels weird in your calf or foot, don't just stretch your calf or foot. Make sure you're actually stretching high hamstring and glute area. It's all connected, fascial tissue, yada yada yada. Lacrosse ball or baseball or really any hard. If you have like a dumbbell, you can also do it on there. Just rolling out the bottom of that foot surface across the entire arch, not just the line where it necessarily feels tight or tension, but throughout both widthwise, outside to inside. Also, having the ball stationary on the ground in your arch, and then actually like sort of flexing your toes up and back down. Doing a bit of that work also helps break up a lot of that tension. And then, yeah, just making sure that the calves and shins are being worked. So make sure that you're just both from a stretching standpoint, but also a strength training standpoint. That's usually what I do and what I have my athletes do. And we've been pretty successful in managing that. But yeah, with most soft tissue issues, make sure you're working both downstream and upstream of the actual point of tension. But with the foot being sort of like at the end of the line, make sure you're working those glutes because a lot of that all rigs up there. That's it.
Thank you. Jamil, what percentage of your Barkley loops is taken by navigation on average? In other words, how much faster would you be if this was a marked course? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think it just depends. If it's good weather out, I wouldn't really lose much time. There's probably a couple sections where if it was marked, I would be a little bit more efficient because I haven't fully figured out that section and you can't like the off trail sections you can't do in training. So I'm kind of relying upon my memory of various loops I've done over the last few years. So, but yeah, on a perfectly clear, good weather day, I probably wouldn't. I would only gain maybe like 5 minutes, something like that. Now, if it's in the dark, and it's foggy and it's raining, could probably make up a couple hours. uh, let's see. Skizzle, is Asian Nate putting in work? Get that boy back in the ultra scene from his JJ Crew 2020.
Yo, okay. Yeah, Nasty Nate. We did run this past weekend. So yeah, no, we're making sure he's getting in some consistent training. We were talking about diversifying his types of runs, maybe even getting him on the track, doing some speed work. Yeah, he was originally going to go to Black Canyon, and then life and pandemic and whatnot. So I'm keeping him on track. Don't worry. And assuming I ever actually put out this Run Flat vlog that's forthcoming, he'll make an appearance. So if there are people who are listening to this that have no idea who the hell Nasty Nate is, you'll see him in the flesh, so that when you see him at Javelina in the fall, I'm assuming he's going to Javelina. If he's not, I'm going to force him to. Then you can shout him out as sort of the awkward stepchild of Mountain Outpost.
Charlie Seymour, when is the Solomon Carbon project? I'm not aware yet of a Solomon Carbon shoe, although they do have new road shoes that they're developing and coming out with. So I actually just got my hands or my feet on a pair of the Phantasm that Killian wore. So those just popped up on my doorstep this last week. I used them on a 10-mile treadmill run with like 4,000 feet of climbing last week on like Thursday night. And they worked pretty well. They're super light. I was just on a call today with Solomon talking about 2021 and upcoming shoes. They got some pretty interesting stuff. I'm really excited about this shoe called the Ultra Glide. It's a more cushioned shoe. So I don't know a ton about it other than they're very excited about it. And it looks badass. Like the colorways look awesome. It looks like it has some good grip. I don't know. It looks almost like a cushier version of the Ultra Pro, which is my favorite Solomon shoe. Mm-hmm. That's the shoe I wore at Tahoe 200. So if there's like a cushier version of the Ultra Pro, sign me up, because we got a lot of miles to run this year. We got Cocodona. Like that might be the perfect Cocodona shoe. I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know if I can get my feet in a pair by May or not. Actually, wait, I might have just had a message from someone that would know, because I asked, I was like, when am I going to get, it says, okay, April or May. So I might have a pair. I might have a sneak preview pair by Cocodona. I'll try and put some pressure and make it happen.
That's what's up.
Then they actually have a trail racing shoe that's based upon the Phantasm that's lighter than the Phantasm. And it's the shoe that Killian, yeah, exactly. So Killian wore this shoe when he set the record at, I think, what FKT did he do recently? Was it like Sears and All or something? Possibly.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So he wore this other shoe. I think it's called the Pulsar, and it's like a very lightweight trail racing shoe. Definitely stoked about that too. They're also continuing to update their road line in general. I think they have a Predict update coming in as well. So yeah, I think Solomon, they're, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do the carbon stuff, but they're putting out some new products for sure this year.
There's a lot of interesting new products, not even necessarily on the shoe side, or I guess in addition to the shoe side, but Ultimate Direction coming out with an apparel line. I saw, I think that might be coming out next month or in the next couple of months. Nathan is supposed to be coming out with an apparel line, I've heard. Craft obviously is stepping up their game. So folks, even brands that we're familiar with are stepping into new verticals. And so this spring, summer season, as people are, I guess, hopefully getting back into outdoor running and being around people, are going to have a lot of new options at their fingertips.
We had a quick question. What do you enjoy more, hosting an event, volunteering, or competing? It's a mix for me, but I think I'm still a competitor at heart. I love competing. Yeah. Brian Aaliyah, you guys need more live visibility, not just being a driver. It also says, give us the Black Canyon live stream. It says, all camera up and chase around some elites. All right. Love it. He's in Gilbert. All right, we might have to reach out.
There you go.
Actually, I think I do have at least a volunteer link on the Black Canyon Volunteer, like the very last tab. It's not filtered out by time, but there should be some slots for video volunteers. I'm still trying to dial that in. I say that every week. Jamil, have you or would you do Badwater? I haven't. It's not high on my list. I've paced and crewed it a couple times. What about you? Would you do it?
Probably not. I sweat too damn much. Like that's asking me to actually die.
Let's see. All right. I think that's most of the questions in general. I do want to make a quick mention. We had a longtime staff member depart our company this last week. Her last day was this last Friday. And like, I'm just like, things are such a whirlwind right now. Like need to put a blog post out, but Haley Pollock has departed Aravaipa after being with us for 6 years. So it's a huge milestone, I guess, for her. It's, one of our longest standing, I think our longest ever standing employee, is moving on to a new opportunity. So we wish her all the best. It's a very strange time for me having someone who was like my right-hand person at the company here. So like just a huge shout out to Haley. She was here at the birth of this channel, Mountain Outpost, and a huge integral part of Aravaipa, how we've gotten to where we are today. We wouldn't be what we are today without her. And then just her impact in the sport in general. She's not never going to show up around Aravaipa races again. That's for sure. Hopefully we'll see her lacing up the shoes a bit more. She's still going to be involved in the sport on quite a few levels. She was actually out at the Carbon X event as the USATF official. She's still on the USATF council, the MUT council. She's actually going to she took a copy editing position for Ultra Running Magazine as a side thing in addition to her new job. And I'll let her announce what her new career path is on her time. But yeah, just, huge shout out to Haley and for everything she's done. And we're definitely going to miss her here. So wanted to mention that.
Yeah. I mean, she tried to kill us on several occasions.
So maybe we're a little thankful, but
so the next challenges we do, our likelihood of death is slightly less, which I guess is good for my life insurance policy. But no, she's been a stalwart of not just the channel and the company, but the greater Phoenix community and the ultra running community in America in the background in ways that we never even see. So shout out to her, and I'll yell at her soon. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, she's very much behind the scenes. She was the one that packed all those drop bags and doctored them up, mystery drop bag challenge. So we could thank her for a lot of that magic.
Thank is one way to put it. Yeah.
With that, I think we're going to wind down the show. Anything else to add in this week? I think it was a good one. Another good one.
Yeah. Obviously, if you are watching us live, that like and subscribe button are right there on the page. You're already here. Just click it. But if you're watching this later, either on YouTube or listen to us on the podcast, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And if you have questions for us to answer next week, topics you want us to delve into, or just want to take have your own hot takes, throw them in the comments. We do come back and check them. And, we're watching. We're watching. So definitely hit us with some stuff. Otherwise, it's a weird time personally for me, so I'm excited to sort of, for me as a public health official, by literally the next episode that we air will be the 1 year anniversary of me like working the coronavirus mission. So it's going to be a party. It's going to be a good time, but this is a nice outlet. So just personally, I want to thank you all for joining us on this ride, giving me 90 minutes a week where I get to think about other things. And, we just want to keep the ball rolling. So tell a friend, join us next week. We'll be back at our normal time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, live on YouTube. Then catch us throughout the week and help us help you. That's it. That's all I got. Jam.
Thanks.
Take us out.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week, episode 10. That's all I got.
Love you.
See you guys.